a powerful earthquake has struck Japan, causing widespread devastation and triggering a tsunami that swept entire towns away. Japan now faces one of the most severe natural disasters in history, and a nuclear emergency.
The Great Tohoku earthquake and subsequent tsunami left 15,000 dead, 6,000 injured, and over 2,500 missing.
There has been reported destruction or severe damage to over 125 million buildings and complete disruption of electricity, water, and transportation systems across northern Japan. Most notably, a level 7 nuclear meltdown at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, leading to the evacuation of hundreds and thousands of residents.
Economic losses are projected to be $235 billion, making this the most costly natural disaster in history.
Good evening, I'm Alberta Angarina.
And I'm Caleb Castor, and this is Shaking Up the News,
your go-to channel for earth-shattering stories. On March 11, 2011, at 2:46 p.m. local time, a massive earthquake struck off the northeastern coast of Japan, approximately 43 miles of the Oshika Peninsula of Tohoku. The earthquake's epicenter was located underwater in the Pacific Ocean, about 70 kilometers, 43 miles, east of the Tohoku region, hence its name. The city of Sendai, with a population of over 1 million people, was the largest city closest to the epicenter, which is why some are referring to the event as the Great Sendai Earthquake.
The Great Tohoku earthquake was one of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded, with a magnitude of 9.1 on the Richter scale. This catastrophic event was not just a single earthquake, but included hundreds of aftershocks, some of which were major earthquakes in their own right. Over 800 aftershocks of magnitude 4.5 or greater were reported, and some exceeding magnitude 7.0. We tune in now to our site crew experiencing some of these aftershocks live.
Thanks, Caleb. I'm here standing on scene of the earthquake, and as you can see behind me, buildings are collapsing, roads are crumbling, and trees are falling down. Millions are left without power, and the scene is starting to get unsafe here. Come on, boys, let's pack it up. We're going inside. We're packing it up. Let's go. Back to you, Caleb.
The earthquake shifted Earth on its axis by estimates between 10 centimeters, which is 4 inches, and 25 centimeters, so that is 10 inches, and it moved portions of the northeastern Japan by as much as 2.4 meters, which is close to 8 feet. So we're that much closer to North America now. The earthquake was caused by a sudden release of stress along the boundary between the Pacific and North American tectonic plates. Japan sits on the boundary of 4 major tectonic plates: the Pacific, North American, Eurasian, and Philippine sea plates. The specific mechanism for this earthquake was a megathrust event, where the Pacific plate subducted, meaning it went underneath the plate beneath the northern Honshu. The Pacific plate had been building up stress for many years as it attempted to move under the North American plate. When the friction holding the plates in place was eventually overcome, the plates suddenly shifted, releasing an enormous amount of energy.
Someone's getting fired because we're having some technical difficulties here.
Earthquakes are sudden movements of the Earth's crust caused by a release of energy accumulated over long periods of time. This energy is typically stored in the form of stressed rock along fault lines, which are where tectonic plates meet. When the stress exceeds the strength of the rock, they break or shift, releasing the stored energy as seismic waves that we experience as earthquakes. Underwater earthquakes, particularly those that cause vertical displacement of the seafloor, can generate tsunamis. A tsunami is a series of ocean waves caused by the displacement of a large volume of water. These waves can travel at speeds up to 800 kilometers per hour, which is 500 miles per hour. And they open the ocean and they can grow to enormous heights as they approach land and the water depth decreases. The Pacific Ring of Fire, where this earthquake occurred, is particularly prone to earthquakes and volcanic activity due to a high concentration of plate boundaries in this region. While earthquakes are a geological process not directly influenced by atmospheric conditions or surface temperatures, some researchers have suggested possible indirect connections to climate change. Changes in glacial ice and sea levels could potentially redistribute the weight on Earth's crust, possibly affecting the stress patterns on faults. Some studies suggest that increased rainfall from climate change could potentially trigger earthquakes in certain circumstances by increasing pore pressure in fault zones. It's important to note that these potential connections are still being studied, and the scientific consensus remains that climate change is not a primary driver of earthquake activity. Climate change is, however, likely to exacerbate some secondary effects of earthquakes. For instance, more intense rainfall that could increase landslide risk following an earthquake, or sea level rise that could make coastal areas more vulnerable to tsunami impacts. And changes in precipitation patterns could also affect the stability of slopes weakened by earthquakes.
Thank you for that information. We now have updates on the tsunami. The initial earthquake triggered powerful tsunami waves that reached heights of up to 40.5 meters or 133 feet in the Myaku area and traveled up to 10 kilometers or 6 miles inland in the Sendal area. The tsunami slammed into the coastal communities within minutes. Whole neighborhoods were swallowed by sea. Roads, homes, and power lines were wiped out in seconds. The tsunami caused the majority of the fatalities and damage. It destroyed entire communities, sweeping away buildings, cars, infrastructure in some areas. Over 90% of the buildings were destroyed. The disaster triggered a level 7 nuclear meltdown at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, and tsunami waves disabled the emergency generators that could have been a provided power source to cool the reactors. We now go live to Frankie Fitchcrutch, who is in the Miyagi Prefecture, one of the hardest hit areas.
Thank you. I'm standing in what used to be a busy fishing port. Now it's unrecognizable. Rescue teams are still searching for survivors amid the rubble. Local residents are stunned, grieving, and afraid, especially of the ongoing nuclear crisis at the Fukushima Daiichi plant, just over 100 kilometers south of here. The flooding of the nuclear plant has contaminated the water and polluted our oceans with radioactive material, impacting both the animal and human life sharing this ecosystem. Our on-site reporter, Ginger Reddington, is interviewing the local fishermen for more details. To you, Ginger.
I am here live where this natural disaster is happening. Do I have to ask his name? What is your name, kind sir?
Claude Mayweather.
How long have you been fishing here?
I've fished here for over 30 years.
What made you start fishing?
Well, when I was a young boy, 5 years old, my grandfather used to take me out on his rowboat on his pond. And every summer, that's what we do. It inspired me to create my own business, and now here we are with a bunch of radioactive fish.
What happened to your house?
My home, my business was all destroyed.
How did this affect your business and your fish?
Well, my business is completely destroyed. My fish are radioactive. I'm not going to be able to bring food home for my family. The tsunami has been the end of us. Earthquake. I think we're pretty good off the cuff, but
What are you gonna do now that you can't fish?
I don't know.
This must be a really hard time for you.
Probably going to go on to LinkedIn, say I'm open to work, and see if anyone needs some type of fisherman or fisherman related hobbies that I do have.
As you can see, people are distraught, struggling with the emotional turmoil of this situation.
Your fish after they became radioactive.
That is the most ridiculous question I've ever heard. No, I'm not eating radioactive fish.
As you can see, the environmental impacts of the earthquake and the tsunami will be severe and long-lasting, as the nuclear disaster released radioactive materials into the environment, including the ocean and atmosphere. Detrimental effects on the environment, including debris, ecosystem damage, and radiation from the Fukushima plant, are present. Massive amounts of debris were washed into the ocean, some of which reportedly have reached North American shores. Coastal ecosystems were severely damaged with significant changes to marine habitats. Long-term effects on marine life due to radioactive contamination will continue to be studied. Saltwater intrusion into agricultural land will make farming impossible for some areas in Japan for the next couple years. Radiation and contamination will lead to the establishment of exclusion zones around the power plant. The Fukushima nuclear disaster is considered to be the most significant nuclear incident since the Chernobyl disaster in 1986, with ongoing environmental consequences as well.
Thank you, Frankie. The government has issued evacuation orders around the nuclear plant after explosions and radiation leaks. Authorities are working to cool damaged reactors, but the situation remains critical. It is advised that you stay as far away from the reactors as possible and as far away from the affected area as possible. Over 450,000 Japanese citizens are in temporary shelters. The other thousands are feared dead or missing. Emergency crews from across Japan and other countries are working tirelessly to rescue survivors. Hospitals are overwhelmed and aftershocks are making recovery even harder. Food, water, and medical supplies are scarce. So please, if you're in an unaffected area, please give anything you can to help the survivors.
My house is crumbled after the earthquake. My family members are missing after the tsunami, and I'm all by myself.
Major earthquakes like the Tohoku event pose numerous risks. Primary damage from the ground shaking include building collapse and infrastructure damage. Secondary dangers include tsunamis, landslides, fires, and potentially nuclear incidents. Aftershocks can continue for months or years, depending on the case, causing additional damage to already weakened structures. Disruption of essential services can lead to public health emergencies as well. While the warning signs for earthquakes are limited, they may include the following. So before an earthquake, you may experience foreshocks. These are smaller earthquakes preceding a larger one. You can also look out for unusual animal behavior. Some animals, particularly those with heightened senses, may be able to detect the P wave seconds before the main S wave reaches humans. Several animal species are believed to exhibit strange behaviors before earthquakes, potentially sensing ground vibrations or other changes. These include birds, snakes, cats, dogs, elephants, toads, ants, bees, and fish. Some anecdotal reports suggest that these animals can sense ground vibrations or low-frequency sounds associated with the seismic activity. You will know because some of these animals will behave abnormally, doing things such as leaving their dens, preparing for safety, or a drastic change in their environment. Animals may act confused or nervous the same way that a human would when an unexpected tremor rattles their world around them. It's important to note that most animals cannot predict quakes months or weeks in advance. This strange behavior will only be noticeable within a few days or minutes of an earthquake. Changes in groundwater levels and chemistry is a big sign, although that is not something we check very frequently, so that is something to look out for. Small ground tilts or deformations that can be detected by sensitive equipments are big red flags for an earthquake. If you live by the coast, it's imperative to remember that earthquakes can generate tsunamis. Strong earthquake near the coast or underwater is a huge warning sign. Unusual and rapid sea level changes, such as receding water, loud roaring sounds coming from the ocean, those are also huge signs of a tsunami. During an earthquake, the safest thing is to stay inside. Take cover under a sturdy desk or table, if that is not possible, against an interior wall. The key is to stop, drop, cover, and hold. Stay under a sturdy piece of furniture until the shaking stops. If no desk or table is available, stay under the edge of your bed and protect your head using a neck pillow. Stay clear of all windows, fireplaces, and heavy furniture. Avoid any insecure objects. If you are outside, find an open space away from trees, power lines, and buildings. If in a vehicle, pull over to a clear location and stop. Some people, such as Tokyo resident Caroline Toms, who is unfortunately not featured at the moment because she got sick, thinking about the devastation and seeing the devastation in Japan right now. She reports that during the 4 shocks of this earthquake of a low magnitude, she was not able to feel the shock of the earthquake while driving. This is footage that Caroline kindly shared with us from earlier when she got stuck in the earthquake, which was actually felt from as far as Tokyo, where Caroline lives. Caroline would like to share with viewers that while you might not immediately recognize it as an earthquake, the shaking and other visible effects will eventually make it clear that an earthquake is happening. If you have a feeling something is not normal, always pull over. Thank you for that note, Caroline. I would like to reiterate that you are safer in a stopped vehicle than a moving one. We want to prevent as many accidents as possible, especially with the holdup with medical emergencies. So to avoid crashes either into objects or off-road, please stop your car. As far as tsunami safety goes, get to high ground and never wait for official warnings to take your planned evacuation route. You should have a planned evacuation route. Remember that the first wave might not be the largest. Tsunami danger can last for many hours. As always, it's great to have an emergency supply kit and to develop a family emergency plan and practice it regularly. Make sure you secure heavy furniture and objects that may be harmful during either of these events. Know how to handle your utilities in the house if necessary. While Japan has one of the world's most advanced earthquake early warning systems, there is always room for improvement. While we cannot prevent earthquakes, society can take measures to reduce their impact. This could be by implementing and enforcing strict building codes in earthquake-prone regions, retrofit existing buildings and infrastructure to be more earthquake-resistant, developing and improving early warning systems, conducting regular public education and drills, creating and maintaining evacuation routes and emergency shelters, invest in more research, improve land use. It's predicted that recovery efforts to rebuild the affected regions of Japan will take up to more than a decade. The reconstruction of housing infrastructure, as well as environmental decontamination and decommissioning work, will have this process be an ongoing effort in order to make this place habitable once again. The Japanese government and people have learned a valuable lesson from this tragedy, implementing improved disaster preparedness measures and building more resilient communities. The international scientific community has also gained important insights into megathrust earthquakes and tsunami generations, helping to improve warning signs worldwide. What happened is absolutely devastating. Our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Japan tonight. With that being said, this is Alberta and Karina signing off. Stay in tune for new news that will rock your world.
It's ready.
Should I actually scream? Probably not.